BRUCAST is back, baby.
This BRUCAST episode is brought to you by the BRUCAST Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now brew-cast.com/store. Link below.
Back with the fire, can't you see the flames? From Deutschland steps comes the BRUCAST name. Voices like thunder breaking all the chains. Unleash the fury like a runaway train.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast recommends to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BRUCAST also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BRUCAST on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links in the description below.
Here we thrive, we survive!
Hey there, BRUCAST fans, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Yes, you guys keep doing that. We're gonna keep doing the giveaways. We made a giveaway, about August, July, end of July. We did one of those giveaways. We're gonna do another one at the end of this month. Some of you gonna win either a cap or a mug or a short, something from the BRUCAST store. It's a secret, it's a surprise. Again, all you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in at the end of the month. We're gonna do the giveaway live here on the channel. All right, so let's talk about our sponsor. The channel sponsor is FunTastic Plus. Parents, if you have been searching for an app that's both fun and educational for your kids, I've got something exciting to share with you. It's called FunTastic Plus. FunTastic Plus is a free app where education meets entertainment, designed specially for children ages 2 to 12. It's built by experts, completely ad-free and totally safe, so you can feel confident handing your phone or tablet to your little ones. Inside the app, kids will find a world of engaging content, their favorite cartoons, audiobooks, and songs to spark imagination, educational games that make learning fun, and all of that to keep them entertained while supporting their development. FunTastic Plus is available on iPhones and iPads and even works offline, so whether you're on a road trip, flying, or just at home, your kids will always have something to enjoy. So if you're ready to give your kids a space that's both fun and educational, download now FunTastic Plus for free on the App Store. FunTastic Plus, a safe and ad-free educational platform for kids. Link on the description below. All right, so we have a very special guest today. His name is Dr. Kevin Smith. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you, Brew. How's things in Germany?
Man, they're hot and wet. I hate it. How about the US? How it's going? How it looks like?
Well, we had a pretty good day. I think the hot days are behind us, and so it's pretty pleasant outside.
I'm jealous. I miss the US, man. I think it's been about 5 or 6 years since I've been there last time. I miss it so much.
Got it.
Yeah, I miss. You know what I miss the most? The food.
I guess.
You guys have some amazing food on the pancakes with bacon. I'm not joking. It's good. It's good. All right. So, Dr. Smith, before we dive into the pancakes and bacon, what about you present yourself to the audience?
Okay, so my name is Dr. Kevin Smith. I'm a functional medicine practitioner, and I specialize in difficult to treat chronic conditions, things like low thyroid disease, autoimmunity, gastrointestinal problems, problems falling asleep or staying asleep, other brain-based disorders, diabetes, things like that. And I've been in practice for about 25 years. I'm a public speaker, and I'm the author of 2 books.
All right. That's amazing. It's a lot you covered there. So, you mentioned thyroid over there for a second there. And that's something that I went to the doctor once a few years ago, and they said, Bruno, you need to take this pill for the thyroid. And I took it, and I think it, dude, just I'm just gonna change my question. Is it something on the throat and what it serves for? Because I don't know.
So the thyroid gland is part of your endocrine system,
Oh,
and it produces thyroid hormone. It's a little butterfly shaped gland that's in the front of your neck, right
okay.
above your Adam's apple, right below the Adam's apple. And what it does is it controls the energy that your body produces. And so it's kind of like an accelerator pedal in a car. If you press on the accelerator pedal, the car is going to speed up. If you take your foot off the accelerator pedal, the car is going to slow down or it's going to come to a stop. And why is this important? It's important because every single cell in your body has a receptor site for thyroid hormone. So it depends on the body part. If it's, say, the brain, and you don't have enough thyroid hormone circulating in the brain, that person is going to have brain fog, or they're going to have depression or anxiety, or they're going to have forgetfulness. They won't have good memory, or they won't have good cognition. If it's affecting the gut, maybe they'll have constipation or diarrhea, or they won't be able to absorb their food correctly. If it affects the heart can speed up or it can slow down. So every single cell in your body has a receptor site for thyroid hormone. That means that the thyroid is a master regulator of the whole entire body. And if you're not making enough energy, for example, if your hair is falling out in clumps, if you've got cracked or weak fingernail or toenail beds, that could be attributed to thyroid disease. It's very, very common.
Wow, it sounds extremely important, and I never heard that before.
Yeah, when medical doctors do a workup for thyroid disease, they don't order enough labs, and subsequently, a lot of problems go missed. They go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. And the result is that millions and millions and millions of people are left with thyroid problems with no real clear solutions to their problem.
You mentioned that the hair falls for a second there. Like, is it
Yeah.
is it possible to treat baldness with it? Like the male, they have a professional name for it. It's like male. I don't know. You know what it?
Thy- Thyroid disease affects more women than men. It
Oh,
affects about 8 times more women than men. And that's very, very embarrassing if they're a female and their hair is falling out in the sink and they've got a bald spot as a result of this. Um, it can affect it can affect the skin. The skin can it can have oily skin or dry flaky skin, or they can have cracked or weak fingernail or toenail beds, plus their hair falling out. Another sign of low thyroid disease is that the outer 1/3 of the eyebrow is really, really missing. They can't grow the side of the eyebrow very well. So that's just the connective tissue, but it can affect all the internal organs as well.
oh my God! Oh my. So you told me that it affects mostly women. Is there an age group? Like,
Well, I would say that the age group that's the most affected is between the ages of 30 to 65. It typically doesn't affect young women, like women in their teens or their early 20s. Um, but I would say, around about 30 to 65 is the typical population of people that are mostly affected.
I see. I see. Okay. So in this case, would be recommended for women in this age group to test it somehow? Is this even possible?
Yes, there's a lot of tests that can be done to determine if they have thyroid problems. Though the thyroid problems could be due to not manufacturing enough thyroid hormone. It could be due to not transporting the thyroid hormone effectively around the body. The cell walls where the receptor site for thyroid hormone is located could be being blocked. For example, it could be due to chronic inflammation, or it could be due to a conversion problem. So if you dig a little bit deeper, there's a couple of different products that the thyroid gland makes. There's T4 and T3. T4 is named because it has 4 iodine molecules attached to it. T3 is named because it has 3 iodine molecules attached to it. Now, the T4 is the most predominant type of thyroid hormone that comes out of the gland. About 93% of the thyroid hormone produced by your gland is T4. Only 7% is T3. Now, T3 is the active form of thyroid hormone. That's the kind that your cells need to produce a metabolic response in the body. And so the body tries to recapture the thyroid hormone through a process called conversion. What that means is that it wants to snip off one of those iodine molecules to turn it into T3. And that takes place in the liver. And the second place it takes place is in your gut. So in order to have a normal thyroid function, you have to have a normal healthy brain. You have to have a normal healthy thyroid gland, a normal healthy liver, and a normal healthy gut. And if you have all these, all 4, you're in good shape. You're going to be better off than not. And the T3 is only 7% of that comes out of the thyroid gland. The rest of it is made in the liver and in the gut.
But is the thyroid gland that indicates or tells the liver to produce the T3?
Yes, the thyroid gland, about 93% of the thyroid hormone is T4. And that goes throughout in the circulation, throughout your blood, into your liver. It's treated by an enzyme in the liver, and it's 60% comes out as T3. So it goes in as T4, comes out as T3. Another 20% goes into the liver, comes out of the liver, goes into the circulation again, into the gut, where it's treated by other stuff called hydrogen peroxide and bacteria in the gut, and that turns into T3. So you got to have a healthy gut and you got to have a healthy liver for the whole process to work. Unfortunately, medical doctors don't test for all the things that they need to test for, and that's why they're missing the boat on this. 17% of people that take thyroid medication are going to be helped. The other 83% are never going to be helped. And that's a lot of people. Imagine that. If you have thyroid disease, the medications are not going to be effective in 83% of all cases.
And that's because they are not treating the other organs.
That's correct. So where medical doctors will order one test to check for thyroid problems, they'll typically order a TSH test. That stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. I order 10 different tests because I want to look at the entire metabolic landscape and see exactly where the breakdown is and what is causing it. So by ordering a robust amount of tests, I can determine if you're having problems converting T4 to T3 or distributing the thyroid hormone around the body.
Okay, so you catch it. You know exactly what's going on and how to address it. All
That's
right.
correct.
Yeah, that sounds ideal. Isn't that the standard?
No, the standard of care, which is done by medical doctors in the United States and in Europe is to test for TSH. If you ask nicely, they may order a free T3 test. That's a test to measure the amount of T3 in the body, but they're not going to measure other things like autoimmune markers or reverse T3, T3 uptake, all the different metrics. And so if you don't test for everything, you're going to guess. And I don't like to guess with people's health. I like to know exactly what's going on by ordering objective lab tests. And these are simple blood tests. They're known by every lab in the world. And if you just order them, you'll get the information that you need. Unfortunately, because of politics and money and other factors, the same standard of care that has been used since 1965 is being used today. Now, the names have changed a little bit over time, but the actual workup is the same.
Okay, so basically depends on the patient. If he by luck has a good doctor and he by luck is able to convince this doctor of doing all of those tests that theoretically aren't that hard to do.
It is, because it's not the standard of care. The standard of care is to order the least amount of tests possible and just assume that that's what's going on and you're going to be helped by taking medication. That is not going to happen. The doctors are not going to order the proper amount of tests. They're not going to look in the right places for where the problem is, and they're not going to treat it effectively. And as a result of that, the majority of people that have thyroid disease will continue to have symptoms and continue to suffer with things like low energy, low libido, insomnia, gastrointestinal disturbances. If it's a woman that wants to get pregnant, she may suffer from infertility, and they can't figure out what's going on. And that is a very, very frustrating problem for a lot of people.
Dr. Kevin, I had no idea that thyroid was so important that you mentioned it was the master regulator of the body.
It is one of the master regulators of function in your body, because what it does is it controls the metabolic rate. That's the amount of energy that your body produces while it's at rest. So you have to have enough thyroid hormone to drive the machine, to drive your brain, to run your gut, to run your pancreas, your liver, your kidneys, your muscles. Everything requires a sufficient amount of thyroid hormone. And if you don't, it's like taking your foot off the accelerator pedal and that organ is going to slow down or stop. So it depends on what you're looking at. If the person has, say, brain problems, we have to look at the thyroid gland as a possible contributor to what's going on. That's not going to be the case all the time, but it can be a contributing factor.
But isn't it natural that I'm sorry, let me adjust my headphone here for a sec. Isn't it natural that over time we all lose some energy throughout, like as we age? Isn't that kind of expected and natural?
It's very common, but it's not normal to lose energy. It's very common for people, especially in this day and age where people eat a lot of highly processed food, or they eat a lot of sugar, or they eat other types of things that are not very healthy for them. They can't produce a sufficient amount of energy. The thyroid could be one of many issues that can cause low energy, but it's a very, very common problem, and it has to be properly worked up to see what's going on. There's a relationship, for example, between the thyroid gland and autoimmunity, which is where your blood cells, your white blood cells, actually start to attack your own body and cause all kinds of problems. Other types of autoimmune disease include rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, sarcoidosis, Crohn's disease, things like that. So it's largely dependent upon which organ is involved. If the immune system attacks the thyroid gland, that's called Hashimoto's disease. And the Academy of Endocrinology has published a lot of studies on this issue, and they have concluded that 90% of all people with thyroid problems have Hashimoto's. That means that 9 out of 10 cases are involved with the immune system. So it is not an endocrine problem, it's an immune system issue. And mostly nobody is fixing any kind of immune problems. You go to see an endocrinologist, or you go see your primary care physician, your family doctor, and that guy is going to order one test. He's going to order a TSH and then make conclusions based on that one test. In my opinion, that's an insufficient amount of information.
Doesn't sound fun. Imagine having your own autoimmune system attacking your own thyroid. It's like you're in war with yourself. What?
That's exactly a great description. So what autoimmunity means is that your immune system, which is your white blood cells, are supposed to be protecting you. That's your body's defense system. So it goes around the circulation and it protects you from a bacteria or a virus or a parasite or some other thing. So every time you drink water, every time you eat food, every time you breathe in air, your body is ingesting toxins, and it has the ability to get bacterial infections, viral infections, a protozoa or a parasite. And so your white blood cells, your lymphocytes, your neutrophils, your monocytes, they go out throughout your body and they kill invading bacteria, things that shouldn't be there. With autoimmunity, that same defense system starts attacking and destroying your own body. So if you ever wanted to know how effective the immune system is, wait till it starts to turn on your own body. That's a really, really severe problem. And there's over 100 different autoimmune diseases, and they're all named based on which body part is being affected.
My God. I don't even want to imagine that. Is that different from cancer though? Because cancer is when your cells try to repair yourself, but it commits a mistake, right?
Yeah, cancer is when you have certain cells that start to reproduce themselves in an out of control fashion and starts to take over certain body parts. So, for example, there's cancer of the bone, there's cancer of the skin, there's cancer of the liver. That's a different type of a problem than autoimmune disease. So, you could have both. I mean, people reserve the right to have more than one problem.
Oh my God. I'm glad I'm not a doctor and you are, Dr. Kevin. What I need to ask you, like, what made you pursue this career? Because just talking about it, I'm like sweating, you know, like imagine all of those issues day after day. How can you handle this, Dr. Kevin?
So, when I first went into practice, first of all, by trade, my base degree is I'm a doctor of chiropractic. And when I went to chiropractic school, I graduated from there in 2001. And I went into practice, and I was helping people with back pain, neck pain, knee pain, headaches and migraines, things like that. And I was pretty good at it, and word was getting around, and my practice was growing. But every once in a while, somebody would come in the office with some kind of a weird medical issue that I couldn't help with traditional chiropractic methods. And as a result, I started to get really curious. I wonder what could I do to help these guys? And eventually that led me to attend a couple of seminars on clinical nutrition. And then I went to more seminars and read more books and attended more seminars. And eventually I became a diplomate of the American Board of Clinical Nutritionists. And those are people that look at lab tests and diagnose if what's going on, and then prescribe certain nutrition, whether it's your diet or it's certain supplements to try to complement the diet. And then eventually this whole thing blossomed into pure functional medicine, which is really a patient-centered, personalized approach to healthcare. So there's two types of healthcare. The one type is called allopathic healthcare. Allopathic healthcare is what's done by medical doctors. And the purpose of allopathic healthcare is to chase a symptom with a drug, with a chemical. So if you have certain symptoms, then you're put into this diagnostic box over here. And then if you're in this diagnostic box, these are the drugs that you get. So that's the standard of care. The functional medicine doctor does not chase after symptoms. Functional medicine is about it's a personalized, patient-centered approach to healthcare. So we treat the person, we don't treat the symptom. So the functional medicine practitioner asks the question, why? For example, why would you have thyroid problems? Why do you have high blood pressure? Why do you have glaucoma? Why do you have indigestion? So we ask that question, why? So that's taking it a step further and asking that question, what could we do for this person to alleviate this symptom, not to just temporarily mask it with a drug? That's really what drugs do, is they mask symptoms. But we want to find out what is causing that problem in the first place so we can give you a permanent resolution to it.
I see. So you just described, just so I understand, you described the difference between allopathic healthcare versus functional medicine, and how allopathic healthcare basically just masks the symptoms with a drug, and functional medicine actually treats the person by asking the why. Did I get this correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So
right.
The functional medicine requires us to do a little bit of detective work. It requires us to investigate the problem at a much deeper level so that we can give them a permanent correction, not just a temporary patch of the symptoms. I can really only think of one drug in the entire world that can actually cure a disease. And that is if you use antibiotics to clear out a bacterial infection. Other than that, I can't think of any drug that's actually going to cure a problem. It may manage the symptom temporarily, but as soon as you stop taking that drug, it's going to come back. So, for example, they have medications to help people with high blood pressure, right? There's all kinds of drugs out there for high blood pressure. And if you stop taking it, guess what's going to happen?
The blood pressure will come back.
Exactly. It goes back up, right? So they're not really giving you a cure, are they? They're giving you a temporary patch.
Oh man, maybe I'm naive, but every time I went to the doctor, I had this fantasy, at least in my head, that they were there to treat me, you know. But if you stop to think a little bit, that's not financially. There's no returns on that. They need to keep making money, right? They need to keep selling you the drug, to keep sedating you. That's what they're there for. And I don't like to think about it. It sounds they're against me.
Well, the medical doctors, I don't think it's because they're bad or evil. It's just it's a difference in philosophy. They're there to try to remedy a problem by giving you a medication. That's what medical doctors do. They work with medications. And when you add in the insurance industry and you add in the regulatory industries and all these other people, it can become a very, very complex issue very quickly. regardless of that, the better solution for chronic issues is a different approach. Now, I'm not sure how it is in Germany, but in the United States, medical doctors are really, really good at treating acute problems or new problems or problems that require a heroic measure to save a life. For example, like a heart attack or a stroke or a gunshot wound or a broken bone. They're phenomenal. They are the best in the world at doing that. But however, when it comes to managing chronic problems, they don't have a very good track record. And it's not my opinion. That's in the medical literature. In the United States, we spend $4.3 trillion a year on our healthcare. That is such an enormous amount of money. It's more than the next 20 countries combined. Mm. And of the $4.3 trillion that is spent on healthcare, 90 cents of every dollar that is spent is done treating chronic problems. And the medical doctors don't have a good track record at treating chronic issues. Those are things like high blood pressure or thyroid disease, autoimmune disease, infertility, things like that. Those are not acute problems, or they've been with them for a long, long time, and the drugs are not sufficient to correct the problems.
Maybe that is because those problems are only fixable or curable through your own actions. Maybe I'm just assuming here, like those are things that you need to, like you need to go to the gym, you need to eat healthy, and that's not something that any doctor can fix it for you. That's
correct. So in the United States, people will work 40 to 60 hours a week, and then they will come home and take little Billy to baseball practice, and they got to feed them. So they go to McDonald's drive-through, and after a while, they start to gain weight. They start to develop high blood pressure. They start to develop anxiety. And so it goes on and on and on. And I think that the average person is taking multiple pills all the time just to manage their chronic issues. It's a sad state of affairs, and I'm trying to help people one person at a time.
Hopefully the podcast expands your help.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Kevin, I need to ask you, so that's a very interesting theme that you're talking about, the subject that you're talking about right now, because as I mentioned before, I don't know, at the beginning of the conversation, that I love the US. I've been there a couple of times. Last time I went there, I ate so much. It was so good. I mean, but I would never live in the US as much as I love that country. And the number one reason for it is the healthcare. I hear so many stories that makes me scary. You know, like I hear some people they get a ride to the hospital. They need to pay thousands for the drive there. The emergency car, how it's called again? Oh my God, the ambulance. And then someone else told me, I don't know if that's true. You correct me if I'm wrong. That after your son is born, you need to pay a certain amount in order to hold your son. It's like a new fee just for let them to, like, that sounds like a scam. I'm sorry. Why I need to pay to hold my son? It's like I don't know. There's so many of those little things that I hear. I don't know how many of them are true, but overall, it doesn't give me a good impression, you know?
Well, you touched upon something that is, I need to unpack that and discuss it in a little bit of detail. People, when they call me, one of the first things out of a lot of people's mouths are, do you take my insurance? That's the wrong question to ask me. The right question to ask is, can you help me?
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do to help me? Because I'm not getting a satisfactory result by taking drugs. And when you go to, say, a family doctor, that doctor is going to order a very, very narrow bandwidth of tests in order to arrive at a diagnosis, in order to prescribe a drug. In other words, that doctor is going to do exactly whatever the insurance company dictates that they will pay for and nothing else. So by the time you even walk in the doctor's office, your treatment plan has already been predetermined for you by some actuary that sits in a cubicle that works in a different city, has never met you, has never read your chart, has never looked at your labs, has never looked at your x-rays, anything. But they are going to be in the driver's seat dictating to the medical doctor what they will pay for. But that is healthcare in this country. Like I said, I'm not sure what it is and how it is in Germany, but in the United States, the insurance companies sit in the driver's seat and determine what they will pay for and what they won't. And medical doctors are very frustrated by that, because it's the medical doctor that went to medical school to learn all about the body, to figure out what the best choice is for the patient, not the insurance companies. They have nothing to do with it. So with the insurance involvement, it becomes very, very, very expensive. If you, God forbid, had a heart attack or a stroke and you needed to go to the intensive care unit in the hospital, your bill could be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's insane.
And that's why you have insurance, to protect you from a catastrophic problem. If you take a few steps back, what could that person have done to prevent a heart attack or a stroke? Maybe eat better, maybe exercise, maybe manage their stress, maybe get a good night's sleep, maybe meditate, do other types of things. That's the reason why people go to the gym. That's the reason why people eat organic food and they avoid deep fried fatty foods, to keep themselves in good shape so they don't have a problem. It's the same reason why you would change the oil in your car, to prevent your engine from blowing up, right? But your car has an instruction manual that tells you to do that. We are not born with instruction manuals. And so we don't know the difference. And so a lot of people wait until they develop a really bad symptom, then they go to the doctor, and then they rely on pharmaceuticals to clean up the mess. Whereas if they took better care of themselves in the first place, they wouldn't need to do that.
You heard here first, guys. That's your manual. That's your instruction. Go to the gym, eat healthy, do all of those things. Yeah, but it's infuriating. It's frustrating that to know that society, it's not society. Like, I don't know who to blame. The government, who is making sure that ambulances and rides to the hospital cost hundreds of thousands of euros, because that makes absolutely no sense. A car to drive from point A to point B does not cost hundreds and thousands of euros. They are charging this amount because they know that's a life. It can be a life or death situation. So my point of view is that they're just straight up scamming people. That's how I see it. And that's frustrating, because it's basically the government or whatever who is making the laws or allowing this to happen, telling people that you're either rich or you die. Like, what? That's how society is treating me? That doesn't sound very humane, but at the same time, we're in a capitalistic society. So, I don't know.
The insurance, the ride on the ambulance to the hospital is typically not covered by any insurances. So if you need to go to the hospital and you need an ambulance to take you there, it's about $1,500. I don't know what that would be in euros, but it's quite a chunk of change. The functional medicine approach to correcting problems relies on lifestyle modification a lot. So we teach people how to eat correctly, how to the importance of regular exercise, the importance of managing stress, the importance of getting a good night's sleep, the importance of managing your nervous system through chiropractic care, all kinds of natural low-cost things that you do to keep yourself in tip-top shape so you don't need to rely on medications over and over and over again. We spend so much money on healthcare primarily because Americans don't take good care of themselves. And so that they wait until a serious medical problem happens, and then they rely on pharmaceuticals to clean up the mess afterwards. I can't imagine that Germany or France or England or some other very highly developed country is all that different.
Well, I can share my experience in Germany. I already shared a couple of times in podcast. It's very frustrating actually. We everyone who works here has have the public healthcare card, right? We all get it as long as you're employed, and that means that any problem that you have, you can just go to your house doctor, and they gonna redirect you to a more specialist doctor from there, or sometimes, most of the times, it's just gonna treat whatever's going on themselves. So that's in theory how things should work, right? Um, in my case, in my experience, what happened to me several times, at least that's in the region where I am here in Germany. It's called North Rhine-Westphalen. At least in this region that I am here, most of the times when I go to the doctor and have a problem, they just say, yeah, you'll be fine. Come back in 1 or 2 weeks. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, just help me. And this happened so often that I just gave up going to the doctor as soon as I have a problem. I always wait 1 or 2 weeks, which most of the times the symptoms worsen, and then they take me seriously. And in one of the cases, it was the most extreme case. It was the most frightening case of them all. I had a lymph node that grew over time under my left arm, and it was growing. It was growing. I think, I don't know, but I think you would even call it a tumor. And I went to the hospital, and I was suffering as hell, and the thing was growing, and the doctor just told me, no, you're fine. You can go home. You're gonna be good by yourself. Like, what? I was literally dying. I said, this is not right. I went to another hospital, and as soon as I went to this other hospital, they're like, Bruno, yeah, you're gonna die. You need to go to the surgery table tomorrow. And then I went to the surgery table the next day, and they saved my life. They removed the tumor. So overall, just to summarize the whole experience here, is like, most of the times they don't take you seriously. They wait until you're dying, and sometimes even when you're dying, they don't take you serious. At least that's my experience. I heard a lot of people have very different experience, but that at least mine.
Well, unfortunately, that happens a lot. The doctors can exhibit poor communication, and they don't take everything as seriously as they should. I'm not sure what the root cause of that is. Maybe they see too many people and they're a little
Yeah.
bit burned out. I don't really know. I'm very sorry that happened to you. But when it comes to things like lymphedema or cancer or things like that, that's outside of my wheelhouse to fix. I think that there's a time and a place for all healing. There's a time and a place for medicine. There's a time and a place for surgery. There's a time and a place for chiropractic care or for physical therapy. I just think that as a people, we are over medicated. And I think that by going back to the basics and going back to the fundamentals of what you need to do to prevent a problem from occurring in the first place, that is really where it's at. It's like the dentists had a great idea about 1960. In 1960, the American Dental Association, in conjunction with the people that made toothpaste, spent $1 billion. That was 1960, $1 billion in 1960, to educate people about the benefits of brushing and flossing and going to the dentist on a regular basis for a checkup. prior to that, nobody went to the dentist until they had a toothache. Didn't happen. But in 1960, they spent a lot of money and they spent a lot of effort to create a paradigm shift in the way that people thought about their dental health. Nowadays, everybody goes to the dentist every year, maybe sometimes twice a year in this country. I go twice a year. So I go and get the dentist does a checkup. We get x-rays. We do the whole thing to prevent a problem from happening in the future. And that is what I think should happen with regular healthcare. I think that you should not wait until you have a problem to get healthcare. And you certainly should not be ignored if you have an enlarged lymph growing in your arm.
Yeah, that was insane. It was insane. I don't
That
know.
happens. That happens every day. Every day, somebody goes to the hospital or they go to the doctor, and the doctor doesn't take it that seriously, and that manifests into a major problem down the road. And a lot of it can be handled if there was better communication between the doctor and the patient.
I mean, Dr. Kevin, how much better communication can we expect when your patient is literally telling you, I'm dying, I need help, and they are saying, you're good, go home? Like, I don't know how can we improve this.
I agree with you. I think that they really mishandled your case.
Yeah, I wish I was exaggerating, and I'm not, guys. It's really crazy. Yeah, I'm not never going to that hospital. Thanks God, there's 2 hospitals in the town that I live in. I went to the other one where they saved my life. I'm never going to the other one. And I talked with friends of mine, and they all said that this first hospital that I went to, yeah, they don't like it. Like they're not very good ones. So there's something about that place. I don't know. I don't know.
In this country, the 2 most prevalent specialists that make the most money are cardiologists, that people that have circulatory disease or heart problems, and oncologists to help people with cancer. And that just so happens to be the number 1 and number 2 cause of death in the United States is heart attacks or cancer. Other types of specialists don't make anywhere near as much money. And I don't think that there's as much money being spent on research and development or other types of problems. Like, for example, an eye doctor or an ear, nose, and throat doctor. They don't make anywhere near as much money.
Whoa. Yeah, because people are not dying that often from, yeah, as you mentioned, most people die from cardiovascular problems or cancer. I just saw today on Instagram, apparently in Russia, they have this new cancer treatment where they use a particle collider in order to treat your cancer. They are able to redirect the particles directly into the cancer cells very precisely, not touching anything else, and destroy the cancer like that. Have you seen that?
No, I have not. The cancer research and treatment is outside of my wheelhouse, so that's not something that I would have to refer that person out to a different specialist.
I see. All right. Yeah, I saw it on Instagram, guys. So I, who knows, who knows how much is that? It's in Russia. Who knows? Another thing that I saw very recently, that was, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Kevin, on your page on Instagram, there's this new treatment where they shoot lasers at your knee.
Yeah, I use laser therapy for people with knee pain. What laser therapy can do is it reduces inflammation, it reduces pain, it accelerates healing, and it does this without drugs, without surgery, without cutting. It's completely it has no side effects, and it's wonderful. And I use a laser for helping people with knee pain, hip issues, low back pain, neck pain. all kinds of joint problems and all kinds of muscular problems. I'll use it for foot pain. And what laser does is the laser penetrates below the surface of the skin, and it hits the target tissue, and it accelerates the healing and reduces the inflammation and swelling, and it's wonderful. It's really, really cutting edge stuff.
How can a laser do that? I mean, at the end of the day, lasers just concentrated energy, right?
That's right. So there's different. If you ever look at a rainbow, there's different colors of the rainbow. There's blue, there's green, there's red, there's yellow. So different spectrums of light energy can penetrate below the surface of the skin at different depths. So, for example, blue light can penetrate about 2 millimeters below the surface of the skin, not very deep. Then green light can penetrate about 4 to 6 millimeters below the surface of the skin. Red light can penetrate about 6 to 8 millimeters below the surface of the skin. Infrared light can penetrate between 20 and 100 millimeters below the surface of the skin. So depending on which color, which type of a laser that you're using can affect how deep the penetration can go. I use infrared light, and I use a very, very powerful laser, and it can penetrate very deep below the surface of the skin to arrive at the target tissue. So, for example, if it's a hip problem or if it's a lumbar spine issue, you got to go pretty deep to be able to hit the joint. And so the infrared light spectrum can penetrate really, really below the surface of the skin to hit that target tissue to accelerate the healing.
I still don't get it. Why just so you're heating it up?
Well, what my laser does not cause any thermal increase in the temperature. It doesn't heat it up at all. Some lasers will do that, but the laser that I do does not cause any increase in temperature. But what it does is a process called photobiostimulation. What that means is that it's accelerating the healing at the mitochondrial level. The mitochondria are organelles inside your cells that produce energy. So it stimulates them, it wakes them up, it causes them to produce more energy to get you better faster.
All right, I need one of those. It's like how big it is, like a flashlight size? How does that work?
No, the one that I have is about 4 feet tall. It's about 100 watts, and it looks like a spaceship.
Okay, you cannot just go on Amazon and buy one then.
Well, you could buy a laser pointer, but it's not gonna do you very much good at that level.
Man, that's amazing. Who do you know who discovered that? Is this a new thing? I never heard it before.
There is the lasers that I have were designed in Italy, and it's a very, very common procedure. I don't do that for treating thyroid issues or autoimmunity. I order lab tests for those things. I will order like blood, urine, stool, and saliva tests to look at objectively all the different variables that could be contributing to their problem. So, for example, with thyroid problems, aside from autoimmunity, which we talked about before, there are 9 different what I call triggers that can cause disruption with your thyroid function. There's things like anemia, which is where you're having problems transporting oxygen on your red blood cells. There is blood glucose imbalances like insulin resistance or diabetes. There is cortisol, which is produced by your adrenal glands that regulates your fight or flight response. There's sex hormones, things like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Boys and girls make both, and they have to be in the right amounts for the right gender and the right age. There's chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. There's GI problems with absorption problems with leaky gut syndrome, your microbiome, that's where most of your neurotransmitters are made. There's oxidative stress. There is stealth infections. There's chemical sensitivities from household cleaners. All of these things have to be analyzed, and they have to be taken into consideration. The medical doctor does not look at any of these things. They look at your TSH, and that's it. And then they give you a drug, and they say, "Thank you very much. I'll see you in 6 months. Have a good day." And they kick you out.
Wonderful. Dr. Kevin, I have a question about the insurance and how much the insurance controls the functional medicine. Because we're talking about how much the insurance controls the allopathic healthcare, right? But not the functional medicine. Is there a difference there?
There is. I don't allow insurance companies to dictate what the patient needs. I base my decision making not on what the insurance pays for, but what the person needs. The functional medicine treatments that I do are very, very affordable. They're very affordable. Nobody ever goes bankrupt from going to a functional medicine doctor. So because the allopathic medicine is regulated by insurance companies, that accounts for the lackluster results that they get. I don't want people to choose what to do about their problems based on what insurance is going to pay for or not pay for. So therefore, I say I don't take insurance in my office. There's a little bit of an investment in their health, but it's very, very affordable. It's not very expensive.
You're making less money that way.
Making what?
Less money, right? That way.
Well, medical doctors and chiropractors and other people, they don't get paid very much at all. You pay a lot of money in insurance premiums. And I'll give you an example. I have a friend who's an ear, nose, and throat doctor. He did a tonsillectomy on a patient. He said, "Do you know how much money I made on that?" I said, "No." He goes, $200 for doing a surgery. That included pre-op, the surgery, the post-op, and doctor's visits afterwards. He made $200. Now, if you think about it, a woman that goes to a hairstylist to get a cut and color is going to spend $350 on that haircut. And that doctor went to school for 8 years to learn how to do this stuff. Doesn't make any sense.
No. It's same with like football players. Some of them are billionaires for what? Doesn't make any sense. All right, Dr. Kevin, thank you so much. I would like to move on to the last part of the podcast where I normally ask my guests if they have one final message, and then you also mentioned that you have books. If you'd like to talk a little bit more about them, that will also be welcome. So first of all, do you have any final message, any final saying to our guests, to our audience?
Well, I would say that if you have a medical problem that has not been satisfactorily resolved by medicine, then give functional medicine a chance. It's a different approach. We ask different questions. We do different things. It's not the same stuff over and over again, repackaged. So if you have an autoimmune disease or you have some kind of a weird medical problem that nobody else can figure out what's going on, you owe it to yourself to try functional medicine, give it a try, see if it helps you. Okay. The second thing is, the second question I get a lot is, how can people reach me if they have a question or if they want to learn more about or get some help? The way that you reach me is you can either visit metabolicsolutions.net. That's metabolicsolutions.net. Or if you're in the States, you want to give me a call, I can be reached at area code 412-595-9700. 7332. And what we do to start is we start with a discovery call. The discovery call is a simple phone conversation. It's about 10 or 15 minutes long. And during that time, you just tell me what's going on, tell me about your problems, tell me about what you've already done to try to get a resolution for these problems. And then I'll give you my recommendations. So just give me a call. Let's set up a discovery call and find out what I can do to try to help you. And that number again is 412-595-7332. Or you can visit my website at metabolicsolutions.net.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dr. Kevin. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Brew. It was great to meet you. And I hope that things are great in Germany for the next couple of months.
Me too. Thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the Brewcast store, Explore store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with Brewcast. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. Again, that's brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. Be a Brewcast model and get free stuff. We'd love to see how you and your loved ones enjoy Brewcast. Snap a picture of yourself, your family, your friends, or even your pets wearing Brewcast merch, or watching an episode of the show and send it to us and become part of Brewcast. We will feature you and your pictures at the end of every episode, just like the ones you're seeing on the screen right now. You can upload your pictures at brew-cast.com/contact or tag us on social media. Alright everyone, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.